Kate Dyer, and the founder and CEO for STEM Express. And what I want to tell you guys today a little bit in 2 minutes here about us is we are based out of Placerville, California. So we are in the Sacramento region, but just right on the edge. And we have a laboratory up there as well as offices. We've been in business for 15 months. And in 15 months, we've managed to hire 24 people somehow, some way, with a lot of work from our HR director who's here tonight. And we've started off in this company. I'm going to tell you all the fun facts first, get those out of the way. We started off in this company with $15,000 in cash to make this happen. It's not very much. And our first month, we did $800, which was exciting. So I'll tell you, we're in the middle of our 15th month, and our average is about $175,000 a month. And so we've had a huge amount of growth, and so much so that I don't sleep much. But you know, one of the things I can tell you is, like a lot of the folks that are up here tonight, they really are doing the hard work. They're creating devices, they're working on cures, they're trying to come up with, you know, the next drug or the next machine that's going to change the way we work on trying to solve some of the most complicated diseases in this country. And I am really lucky because I get to work with a lot of them. You know, we don't have a device or a machine or something like that that we are creating or trying to market or bring to market a specific drug. What we're actually doing is supplying blood, all sorts of types of blood, as well as tissue and cells to researchers that are working on those types of diseases. And, you know, I can tell you you know, when I was reading what Laura had put together for us here tonight, and she asked, you know, for us to tell you our story. And, oh my goodness, that's 2 minutes. Wow. So, I love being first. This is great. You know, I'll just tell you quickly is that the last 15 months has been incredible. We have people in our company that are passionate to try to find diseases and find cures, and we continue to work with 48 of the largest universities in the United States, as well as a number of private sector companies, and we'd love to talk to any of you after, and thank you so much, and thank you, Laura and Meg.
I am Binda Mangat, founder, president, and CEO of MedX Connect and Quorum Technologies, Poplar Talk in India, and XCube Labs, which is based in Sunnyvale in Dallas. I worked in the healthcare field for Sutter Health for some time, trying to reinvent the IT system a long time ago. This is in the 80s. And we had created our first pilot telemedicine network in 1989. Technology wasn't there. So one of the areas that we've been focusing on locally here is we've developed software that, one of the frustrations used to be in this, I think UC Davis is finding that out. A lot of companies make carts, and we have a lot of clinicians that are very good at what they do. However, the integration portion of it is where people struggle. So one of the things that I wanted to do is, hey, how do we make their life easier? So over the last three and a half years, we've developed a software that's browser-based. You can download it from anywhere in the world, and you have at your fingertips the ability to telephone, to encrypted instant messages, to send encrypted file transfer, so you can send patient data. So it's Sarbanes and HIPAA compliant. So now, I actually just came back from Africa. We're helping Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania to look at telemedicine technologies. And one of the things that we need to do here is see how we can hook up with those folks out there, because we have a lot of clinical expertise here. And one of the projects we've done in Europe basically is Arizona Medical Center. Quorum was appointed to be the technology partner with the International Virtual Hospital Foundation based in Arizona. So we are consultants to them. And one of the very first jobs we did was the link between Kosovo, the war-ravaged Russian part, and that link is up and working. I guess I gotta go. So the message here is, in the old days we didn't have the technology when we tried to do this, etc. We have the technology now. We just need to figure out how do we get the sustainable part of it going, and I think it can be done quite easily. Thank you.
Well, I'm an engineer, inventor, trained here at University of California, Davis, many years ago. I'm glad I brought the actual device here that I'm going to talk to you about. This is the disposable part, so it's razor blade. This is the device part. This is something that functions inside a centrifuge, spinning at 2,000 gravities, typically. But the purpose of it is to be an enabling tool in cell therapy. If you look at the main repositories of stem cells in the body, cord blood, normal blood, bone marrow, rhea effluent, or adipose tissue, their volumes vary, typically clinically 20 to maybe 250 milliliters is what the source material is. At the end of the day, there's uses for them in point of care, right in the surgical suite. In banking, cord blood banking is the most common in research. That's a picture of Jan Nolte and Gerhard. They stand for research as far as I'm concerned here. And diagnostic, there's a leukocyte scintigraphy. It's a type of nuclear medicine. The main thing that ties all those things together is they're basically focused on the same cell populations. They're the mononuclear cells within all these different source materials. So we wanted to develop a device that would go and get them. They are, by and large, much less than 1% of the overall cells of the source. So the question is, how do you have if people look for niche markets, we were looking for a market that would actually have quite a few uses and be able to be used with quite a few sources, so that you could isolate the cells you want in a single 20-minute step in a centrifuge, and then at the end of the centrifuge run, you simply pull out a little tube and you can draw the cells, target cells that are captured right out here. So we see it has value in research, we see it has value in point of care, in banking and diagnostic. And at the end of all, what that means is, if it can be used in many places, then the sale of any one drives the cost down of all the others. That's the basic concept.
Well, 2 minutes, and I thought, well, what could you say in 2 minutes would be meaningful, memorable? It's impossible, right? No. The Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address was 10 sentences. So pretty hard to be that eloquent, but so I would start my speech by saying that 14 months and 7 days ago, I founded Stem Cell Partners for the purpose of creating a company that is for me to spend the last 10 years of my career doing what I love the most, and that's creating products. And today, Stem Cell Partners is an intellectual property company. What that means is that we create patents, sell those to major healthcare companies who give us a licensing fee, build a royalty structure, and that's how we started the company with really very little money. Just a personal loan to the company from my wife and I, and that's how we started. And by doing that, we were able to get going, and it's been a very exciting start. So the first product that we developed was a cell separation canister which purifies stem cells. Very unique product, and it has no moving parts. It's able to do the cell separation very quickly. But that's not really what we're going to be known for. That really, to me, is one of our runway technologies. What I'm most excited about is the work that we're doing in integrating biological tissues and the cell separation technology together to create what's called autologous living cell grafts for wound care. So this is a way to take the patient's own tissue, combine it together, and have a wound delivery of living cells can be applied to wound surfaces. Very exciting technology. You can make these biocomposites, supplement them with stem cells, supplement them with platelet-rich plasma. It's going to be something that I think will be an important place, especially it's appropriate here at Shriners, where burn patients get so much benefit from being here, and I hope that we can contribute to their continued good care.
Thank you, Sarda, very much. We wouldn't be where we are without you guys, honestly. Monu Medical, we started a company here, beginnings about 10 years ago. Over the last 2 years, we've really ramped up. Our goal is to create a new way to give intravenous medications. As an emergency physician and my partner as a critical care nurse, we've run into real problems. There's a huge gap between the two ways that IV medications are given. One is via what's called a piggyback. Basically, a bag of fluid runs in via some tubing, very inaccurate, depends on how high the tubing is, what the resistance in the tubing is. The other mode we use has become the standard of care, and that's an electronic infusion pump, very cumbersome, very heavy, takes 3 settings and about $5,000 to give your IV medications. So there's a huge gap between the two. We aim to bridge that gap, and we think we've done that. We have a new device we call the SafeRinge, and what it does is it lets you give medication without battery power, no power whatsoever in any environment. It lets you set up your IV medication administration in about 1 minute's time, and we can give 99% of the medications that are out there via this tool. It's disposable, it's very inexpensive. In fact, the overall cost will be less than one would utilize giving it via the gravity fed or the electronic infusion pump mode. In aligning this device, it forced us to create a new platform to instill medication and to dispense medication. The most common way that's done is via one of these. Anybody in medicine knows a medical stopcock, and anybody who's used one knows that the first 3 times you set it, it's going to be wrong until you figure out where the fluid's going to flow out. So we came up with a new stopcock. That's another line of products that we've developed as a byproduct. The market for this device is somewhere around $1 billion a year, and the market for the little stopcock you see in the upper left, not so clearly, is about $100 million a year. And this is not a weapon. It's not dangerous. Don't dive. Very quickly, here's the disposable portion that you load with medication. Here's the reusable portion. Basically, you just snap the device on there, load the medicine, turn it towards the patient, pull the device back, and you're administering your medicine in 1 minute's time. So American Heart Association has accepted this device to the largest EMS symposium in the world. We're going to present in 2 months in Florida. We're very excited about that. So.
Thank you. As you can tell by our boring and wordy slide, we are a group of scientists and 1 engineer. We are Glycometrics, and we have developed a set of glycan-based biomarkers. A glycan is essentially a sugar for all you lawyers out there. And what we're using it to do is to predict early instances of cancer. Now, we have a set of biomarkers that we have run in small clinical trials that have shown to be predictive in breast cancer, prostate cancer, and gastric cancer, but we're really focusing on ovarian cancer for personal reasons within the company, and also because it's an unmet market. Most of the time when women find out they have ovarian cancer, it is too late. There are medications and treatments for cancer, but for ovarian cancer, but there's poor detection. So with that, our 2 key milestones most recently was that we were awarded a patent that covers, almost all of the civilized world, and that was a big monkey off our back. And then most recently, we have gone into we have a partnership with a South Korean company that is doing a multi-hospital clinical trial for ovarian cancer in South Korea. And we think that this is a very good partnership with us. They build devices, we kind of build the software that goes with it, and we're hoping that that will be our next big step, and that'll lead us into our next phase of growth. And with that, we are Glycometrics.
Feeding tubes are commonly used in the intensive care units in hospitals to provide nutrition for patients when they're unable to eat on their own. It's a mainstay of critical care medicine. More than 9 million feeding tubes were sold in the United States last year. These are placed blindly. A caregiver inserts the feeding tube into the nostril, runs it down the back of the esophagus into the stomach. And because they're placed blindly like that, the caregiver doesn't really know where the tip of the tube is as it's being put in. Therefore, medical mistakes, medical errors from feeding tube placements are not uncommon. If you read the medical literature, you can conclude that about 1,000 people a year lose their lives because of a feeding tube misadventure, and tens of thousands have an extended stay in the hospital. Dr. Peter Bolofsky is a rock star physician across the street at UC Davis and a world expert in swallowing disorders. Several years ago, he had a patient come to him that never should have been his patient. It was a young woman who'd come to the hospital to have a benign brain tumor removed, which was done successfully. But while she was recovering, she had a feeding tube inadvertently placed into her lung and feeding initiated. She lost that lung, damaged the vocal cord, almost lost her life, and became Peter's patient because of that swallowing disorder. And Peter then became passionate about finding a better way of placing feeding tubes. The result of that is what's known as the Davis feeding tube. And you can start that. The Davis feeding tube has a collar on the tip of it that allows it to attach to any number of different endoscopes. The endoscope slips into that collar, and the endoscope and the feeding tube are put in tandem, in piggyback style. So the caregiver can see exactly where the feeding tube is going and can guide it to its destination. When it's there, the collar is released by pulling back on that. The feeding tube stays in place, and the endoscope is withdrawn. So we have license in place with the University of California. We have access to 1 issued patent and 6 patents pending. We're clicking off our milestones, and we anticipate that this is going to be available in the marketplace sometime before Valentine's Day.
So Widget is a developer of mobility solutions for the disabled. You may not realize it, but over 1% of the population is in wheelchairs. So for the US and the rest of the developed world, that's 10 million wheelchair users. The current standard of care, manual wheelchairs and power wheelchairs, both cause injuries to the patient. They give them mobility, but they cause injury definitively. Tons and tons of clinical research. We have a solution to that that's in market, selling today, FDA registered, reimbursed by Medicare and private insurers. And rather than try and tell you what the product is, I want one of my customers to explain the product to you.
It's a really intuitive system. When I was going down the street by myself, without anyone pushing me, I felt like I was flying.
The Widget is a revolutionary driving and braking system that enables you to propel, steer, and stop a manual wheelchair without ever touching the wheels. The Widget allows you to keep your hands clean and free from harmful spokes, push rims, and dirty tires. People with diminished use of their hands find the Widget much easier to use than push rims. Each arm can be changed from forward to reverse independently to allow for tight turns and precise movements. Improved posture also reduces back pain. The Widget is FDA registered and is reimbursed by most private health insurance companies. You can independently propel, steer, and stop from a comfortable, stable, and upright position. Brakes are applied by simply putting inward pressure on the levers. Because the Widget uses larger muscle groups through a greater range of motion, it provides daily exercise and promotes cardiovascular health. Using a power chair can cause further debilitation from lack of exercise, with ailments ranging from muscle atrophy and pressure ulcers to obesity and heart failure.
When I started at SCU, I had to plan everything out so that if I was going a long distance, I needed like my roommate or buddy that was headed in that same direction.
So your first quarter was pretty tough.
I was pretty sure college was not something I was meant to do. When I got the Widgets, I was given my independence back, which was great.
The Widget amplifies pushing power and it enhances safety by enabling more stable turning, controlled downhill glides, and quick stops. And friction burns are a thing of the past.
Thank you. That young man's name's Matt Ruppel. He's a student at Santa Clara University who has Friedreich's ataxia. And Matt was going to drop out of college because it was just too hard to get around. If any of you have spent time in a wheelchair post-surgery, you understand his pain. And because of the Widget, he's been able to stay in school, and just one of many, many, many stories like that amongst our customer base. Thank you.